Okay, you've been in this office for a
This
while.
is my 24th year.
Has anyone ever been in office this long or longer than you?
Well, in my research, I found out that there's probably several that were, but the last two in the 70s, 80s were there for, I think one of them was there for 28 years, but this is probably about the longest that I know of, at least currently.
So you could say, just with all that time, you know your precinct.
Well, I really do, but I'm really more proud of the relationships I've made with all the other elected officials and department heads of the other taxing entities of Midland and Odessa. So that's been part of what I've enjoyed.
Okay, so all of the work that you've been doing the last, however long you've been getting ready for re-election, it's gonna come down to next Tuesday. What are you looking forward to that day?
Well, it'll be great to find out what the voters want, what they think about my past track record, and I'm really pleased to have had this opportunity. I'm very thankful of the time that I've been awarded by the voters to work on their behalf. I was a petroleum engineer and an entrepreneur before I started doing this, and I've put that business aside for the most part for the last 24 years, and I've really enjoyed helping give people a voice, especially people who call and don't know who's responsible for something, and putting them in touch with the right person or getting the problem solved has been really what I've enjoyed the most.
Let's talk about that track record. What are some of the things you're most proud of in your tenure?
When I came to office in 1999, the tax rate was 32 cents and going up, and I pledged to always try to drive that down, and we drove that down in the first 10 years to about 15 cents, so less than half. Now, I know people's property values have gone up at the same time, but at least we've dropped it in half, and we are the lowest in the state right now. There's 254 counties. The average county tax rate is 60 cents, and ours is 15, so I'm really proud about that. In addition, we started having tremendous sales tax revenue starting in about the 5th year I was in office. And so what we've done with that is we shared it with other taxing entities. We've helped the school with the access to the internet for everybody, including kids from from poverty situations. We built 2 award-winning libraries, even a international award-winning library. We built a state-of-the-art courthouse, and all those things we built without debt. Built an annex for people to have to go to vote and to pay taxes, and so I'm just really proud of our people. We have about 650 employees. We feel like customer service is really important. The public is our boss, and we want to make sure they get good service. I'm very proud about the employees had not had raises when I came into office for 10 years. And they've more than doubled since I came into office. I'm proud about the health clinic that I started and my fellow commissioners agreed with, where our employees have free health care and no down payment prescriptions. I'm proud of our savings programs and incentives that we have for employees. I think we have the best benefits of anybody in government today, and that helps keep good people around. I'm really proud of the Horseshoe. We've built a fantastic facility. When we built the Horseshoe, Walmart was in touch with Mike Bradford on a constant basis and said, have y'all pulled your trigger yet? Once we finally did and agreed to build the Horseshoe, then they built their facility, and then Southeast Midland has had the best development of anything that's ever happened in the whole life of Midland. We created over $250 million worth of development in Southeast Midland. That creates jobs and good streets, and then I'm really proud of the partnerships we've had with the city, where we've gone in and built roads and joined in partnership, especially roads like Industrial and some of the roads in Southeast Midland. I'm really proud about the loop we're fixing to start on, Southern Loop, so Midland will now have a 360-degree loop. Everywhere we built the loop in the past 40 years, it's just developed like crazy with malls and shopping centers and housing and stadiums. And so when we complete the South Loop, probably in the next 4 years, we'll have done a really great thing for South Midland. I'm really proud about that. And in the meantime, water was starting to get bad. In about 10 or 15 years ago, I started working, so I and the rest of the court found another water field similar to the one that the city bought, and we bought one right next to them, knowing that one day perhaps we could figure out a way to send our water down the same lines and give water to residents in the county. And a lot of them are running out of water. Their water wells are drying up or turning into bad quality. So I'm really looking forward to doing that in the future. And one of the most important things that's always been to me is to have zero or no debt. And in the future, we're looking at 4 or 5 huge projects: a mental health facility, a new jail, new law offices, a new Culver youth home, and continuing to spend $40 million a year on roads. And so I'm looking forward to finding a way to do that with grants, with federal money, state monies, and with sales tax and user fees, as opposed to property tax. I'm just dead set against burdening our property tax owners for things that everybody use. I think everybody should pay rather than just the property owner.
Now, you mentioned the horseshoe, and there's really no avoiding the issue. There has been a lot of talk with regards to that facility.
Yes.
Whether it operates in the black, whether it operates in the red.
Right, and let me try to clear it up. Facilities like that aren't even designed to operate in the black. And so because like Ector County, San Angelo, Lubbock, Abilene all have facilities like this. They all run in the black. In the red. And the reason is because, let's say they're running the red $1 million. Well, they bring in $25 million into the community from people who come and visit and use the facility. So that's what we did when we built it originally. I didn't want us to be that way. I wanted us to be unique. And so I went and lobbied Austin, and then I got agreement finally from the city and my fellow commissioners, and we passed a hotel motel tax, which is the reason we're in the black. There's no doubt about it. We're in the black on what's called operational funds. In other words, we've put out a statement for 15 years until this year, when a new statement was put out that was very confusing. It was not a typical CPA statement. But our auditor has put out in the past a statement that has what's called operational profit and loss, and that's the line that shows that we've made over $1 million in the last 8 years before COVID. Now, when you add in the capital expenditures, then we're in the red, but so is any business that spends capital and buys new things, new equipment, new properties, new reserves, just whatever. So, but another thing on the bright side is that we brought in over 1 million people into our facility over the years, and over $50 million into our economy. So it's really been a huge success, and I'm very proud of it. There's been some talk lately about a beer costing $8 and county not getting but 10%. That's actually wrong. Last year we got 19%. We have a graduated scale. So the county gets 19%. The state of Texas gets 14%. The cost of the beer itself is 15%. So by the time you've done that, that's already half of that's $4 out of your $8. And then out of the other $4 that the operator, the manager gets, Joe Kelly, he has to pay for all the labor and the cost of doing business for that labor, the burden and so forth. So I don't know what his net is. That's his business. It's probably somewhere around $1 to $2. The county gets somewhere around 20%, which is $1.60. So it's real. I mean, that's kind of a funny example people use. I think some people have a vendetta about something, and they just continue to harp on it, and they're just dead wrong. All their numbers are just dead wrong. The numbers I've just quoted can be backed up by an audited report. We've had it audited by the auditor for 15 years in a row. The contract is wide open. Anybody can see it. I have a copy of it. I'll give a copy to anybody that wants one. So all the accusations are just dead wrong. They're just used to try to make something look funny or bad, or make the existing court look bad.
Well, that contract with that management company is coming up for review next year.
And it was bid out, by the way, in the beginning. It's always been bid out. We've got people bid on it, and we give it to the best one. Our contract is probably equal to or better than anybody else's contract in Odessa, Lubbock, San Angelo, and Abilene. So I'm really proud about the terms of the contract, so those are the facts, and I wish that people would take the time to actually look at the facts, or talk to Joe Kelly, or look at the contract itself, or look at the audited report before this year. This year there's a strange one that was put out, which I made a comment about recently, and that was called bullying and harassing, when I said, I want you to continue putting out the same report you've always put out for 15 years, so you can figure out for yourself what's going on.
People would say that it's time for change. You've been in office long enough. Your response?
You know what? I typically feel the same way, and when it comes to people in Washington, because I don't have access to them. People have 100% access to me day or night for the last 24 years. I've been here. I've been in Midland all my life. if you don't like being the lowest tax rate in the state and the greatest reserves and the most things that have been built without debt and a water plan and roads, if you don't like all that, then change. But I think it's pretty great record myself.
Roads and water are also really, really important.
Uh-huh.
You cannot deny things have changed since you first took office.
Absolutely.
Midland has grown. Midland County has expanded.
Yes.
We have, 4, 5, 6 lane roads where used to didn't have anything.
Right.
What's your plan as this area continues to expand?
Well, there is. We will continue to be ahead of the game. For example, that's why we bought a water field 10, 15 years ago, knowing that one day it would be desperate and we'd have to have water. And the city has their own supply and they're not going to sell it to people in the county. So that's how we got ahead of the game there. We've currently been negotiating with the city and with the other entities to have delivery points where the county can come up with the money to put delivery lines in. And then let the different citizens in the county, different groups from south, east, west, and north, form their own taxing entities and put in their own infrastructure to their own houses, because that's going to be quite expensive. So we got ahead in that area. For the last 8 years, we've gone very heavy on road repair and road building. My precinct happens to be in the best shape and always has been. That's not anything I accomplished. It's just I have fewer miles of road and they're newer. So my roads have been in pretty good shape all this time. So we spent most of our money on South and East Midland, which is where it needed to go. So we continue to have healthy sales tax revenue, and that's how come we keep out of debt. We'll continue to use those monies to help things that Midland needs, like water and roads. But we're also in a position to be able to help from time to time the city and the school district, the hospital and the college when we have surplus funds. So that's how we keep our sales tax low, and that's how we keep a good reserve, and that's how we also build things without debt. So we'll continue doing those things, and it's a wonderful plan. We're probably, in my opinion, we're in the best shape of any county in Texas.
How important is it to you, having been on the court for as long as you have, to have this cooperation not only within your precincts with your fellow commissioners, but with city entities?
Well, you can't get anything done if you're all fighting with each other. I've been a member of what's called Midland Partnership for about 15 years, and that's a group that meets with all the foundations, all the tax entities, the different groups in Midland that need to work together. And so we always come together and talk about once a month about what's needed, who's up next, who needs to build something, so we don't interfere with each other. We don't try to burden the taxpayer with multiple bonds all at one time. And then there's just so many times when we need to do stuff together. Like, for example, we had a parking lot near the old Grub Burger. The Grub Burger shut down. We had leased it to them. The police came to us and said, is there any way we could use it? We gave it to them for free. We're always able to do stuff like that. We've given the city of Midland 2 ambulances, a fire truck, and we've given the hospital bonus money for their employees who have gone through COVID and been such heroes to all of us. And the only way we've been able to do that is because we have more than we need for operations out of property taxes, and so we use sales tax so we don't have to have bonds or debts. And so my philosophy is I hate debt. I don't like it. I've never been in debt personally, except for the first house I ever bought. I've never bought anything on debt, and I just don't like debt. So, and I bought with my partner about a dozen buildings here in Midland, and we've rehabbed them. And so, again, property tax owners ought not to be the only source of revenue when you need to do something good for the whole community.
One last question. If you are to get reelected on Tuesday, going forward, will you do anything different than you have before? What would you change, or would you continue to do things the same way?
You know, Victor, I've always thought outside the box, and some of the things I've done I will continue to do that I can, you don't even know yet what those are going to be. But for example, I started a county essay contest so kids from kindergarten through college could learn about county government, and I went to the different banks and news agencies in town and got everybody to swap out, and we had prizes and bonds for the kids that won that essay contest. I've brought in over 1,000 kids from kindergarten again through college whose kids have done something good, like a sports victory in the state, or national merit winners, or I've always had all of our national or our foreign exchange students come to court and give them a good experience, talk about where they're from and what they think is good about Midland and what they miss about their home. So I've always done things outside the box, and I'll continue to do that. But of course, the prime number one thing is to make sure we have the lowest debt and the lowest tax rate and the best services, which we've done, and I intend for us to continue to do that. One last thing, I've gotten to meet probably 100 or more news media type people like yourself, and I've always enjoyed getting to hear their stories. And I know some of them move on a lot, but I know you've been here for a little while, and Mike, now the name went out of my head, Jay, and others like that have been here for a long time. But I get to meet so many fine young people. They move on to other places. I've still got friends with them on Facebook. I keep up with what they're doing. I just enjoy hearing people's stories, and this has given me a platform to do that, being an elected official. I've gotten to see what's going on and put in my 2 cents every time I get a chance. And my goal, my vow that I made in the very beginning was to treat everybody I meet the same way that I would want to be treated. I've tried very hard to do that for these 24 years, and will continue to do that if given another opportunity. If I don't, then I'm going to, I look forward to, I'm an empty nester now. My wife and I will do more traveling, and so I'll win either way.
Okay. Anything you want to add, comment on that I didn't ask, or something you just want to reemphasize?
Just that it's been a blessing to me. I've served. I'm a Christian, and which means I don't force people to believe the way I believe. I don't try to pressure them or make them feel guilty or anything else. But what that means is you return good for evil. And I've had plenty of evil thrown at me over the years. You try to do what's right for people, whether they're in your precinct or not, whether they're in your party or not, whether you agree or not. I've enjoyed doing that. And I've gotten to practice my faith, which my favorite scripture is Micah in chapter 6, verse 9. And it says, what does God want from you, O man, except to act justly, but to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. Walking humbly is maybe the hardest thing to do. The other two I love having opportunities to show mercy, but I also love justice and right and keeping people safe, keeping our jails and our sheriff's deputies well paid and well funded. But again, so I will one day give, when all this is over, I'll stand before the Lord. I'll have to give an account of myself to Him, and that's who I serve. First and primary before the people, and then the people come next, and then me.